What's going on, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Watch Report with me, Jean-Luc Watch. Make some noise, S&D. Clap it up. Get excited wherever you are. We are back with another action-packed show for you today, as we always come with every single week on this show. And we got, again, a lot to talk about. Little amount of time. We might not have as long of a show, more so because I'm recovering from the absolute disappointment that was indeed Tyson versus Jake Paul. But again, we're still going to talk about it, because outside of the main event, there was still some great fights to discuss. And on the whole, we need to have a conversation about the state of boxing as we know it right now, because this event left a lot of people with a bad taste in their mouth on the whole when it comes to the sport of boxing. And now that we're in this situation, we gotta break it down. Was this good? Was this bad? Did this potentially set the sport back? Did this potentially put it at a status quo standstill? What is it that the people are saying? What's my opinions on it all? All that and more we're going to talk about right here. And also we're going to talk about Mario Barrios versus Ramos, the absolute barn burner of a fight. We're going to talk about Katie Taylor versus Amanda Sarrano. And if we got time, we're going to talk about some NBA, specifically MVP races, and the surprising rise of the Cleveland Cavaliers, whether or not they are indeed legit, or if we've seen this story before, and indeed this is a very prominent 2015 squad that we had seen of years past that will inevitably crumble and fall once the playoffs come about. But again, all that and more is going to be talked about here on this show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And please, before we even get started, leave a like on this video, on the stream. Comment your thoughts and opinions in the chat below. Subscribe to the channel. Hopefully that little subscribe button glows every time I say the word subscribe, which I now found out, hey, it's a thing. And also, please, share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together and make this community incredibly great and phenomenal for everybody to enjoy. But again, all the niceties out the way, brother, we got to talk about fights and we got to talk about content. So since we're talking about boxing, first and foremost, it is time to step into the ring. That's right. Oh yeah, ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of this show going underway, as we have to discuss. First up, we're going to get to the Mike Tyson main event, absolutely. But real quickly, we're going to cover Mario Barrios versus Ramos, a fight that, again, was the third fight on the main card. If you were here for the live stream that we had, that fight was a barn burner. The Aztec warrior Mario Barrios and Ramos, the heavy-handed, incredibly strong, not undefeated fighter, but incredibly tough contender for Barrios' belt. Brother, they went at it. They went to war. And this was a situation where the jab of Barrios was carrying the day. But then all of a sudden, in what was it, the fifth round? Was it the fifth or sixth round? We saw Ramos catch him with a hard right hand. And all of a sudden turned the tables entirely. And now all of a sudden the fight that Mario Barrios was fighting, hey, the brother now started, shoot. An adaptation was made, but it was more so an adaptation of confusion. But it was hurt for at least 2 or 3 rounds, and even every time he got success after that point, it turned from Ramos having the ability to now take the power after being knocked down early on, and then nearly knocked down in round 1, knocked down officially in what was it, round 2 or 3, just about. So it's like, shoot, this fight turned on its head, and then it ultimately ended in a draw. I want to see that fight again. Absolutely. That fight was absolutely fun. Justin Butter, what's up? How you doing? Thank you for joining in on the show, on the Watch Report. Hopefully you're coming in and enjoying everything we got to offer. Absolutely. But again, when we look at the Barrios and Ramos, that's the fight I want to see as a rematch. And again, we're about to get to Mike Tyson. Real quickly, we're covering the other fights on the card, at least the major ones anyway. And then we had, of course, the biggest fight that really got everybody talking up into the main event. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Sarrano. Oh my gosh. My goodness. If Barrios and Ramos wasn't something to get you out your seat and into the sport, brother, that fight was a continuation between Katie Taylor and Amanda Sarrano. That was a war of epic proportions. Again, worthy of a trilogy. Worthy of a phenomenal fight between two of the best of a generation. Absolutely spectacular. And we're looking at them, and it's like they didn't skip a beat. They didn't miss a step. They kept on going from the early outset, from their war that they had a couple years ago. This is another Fight of the Year contender on the backs of another Fight of the Year that we saw with Barrios and Ramos. It was absolutely incredible, utterly phenomenal. It was situation. Now I will say we couldn't catch the fight because doggone the Netflix wasn't working. The whole system was simply down for everybody in America and around the world. This is incredibly odd to me. We saw Netflix be able to do live golf, a live golf tournament. We saw Netflix be able to do a legitimate tennis tournament a couple months ago. We were hosting live streams and live events constantly. The fact that we all of a sudden are sitting here in one of the biggest events in boxing today and we couldn't see it because of buffering, because of bad, again, pixelation, incredibly bad stuttering, and outright not working at all. If y'all were here on the stream, it was preposterous. We couldn't see half of the Katie Taylor fight because of the stream not working. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely preposterous. Why in the world was this the case when it's supposed to be? We are here for the big fight and for the big event. And you touted this as your foyer, your introduction, your debut into the world of boxing. Potentially being able to make it accessible for everybody in the sport if you legitimately contend to come into this full time as a major thing, as a conglomerate that is Netflix. Hey, that would be phenomenal. But shoot, it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. When it came to, we couldn't see the fight at all. But from what I could gather, once the second half came around, Katie Taylor was winning, and not Katie Taylor, Sarrano was winning, and winning more dominantly than she did in the first round. Though the first fight was incredibly close, this fight, there was some clear separation. It was clear that she was getting better at the exchanges. It was clear that Sarrano was doing more of the better inside work than Katie Taylor. Though Katie Taylor was throwing flurries constantly for a 5-punch combination. The whole night was an absolute war. But we see Katie Taylor get deducted a point for headbutting multiple times, which she's continued to do. And it's a situation where, again, this has been her MO. I'm not saying she's a dirty fighter, but I'm saying some of her tactics, like with Evander Holyfield, are indeed dirty. And because of that, we're looking at this and we're saying, why in the world is it that if she got deducted a point, was getting beat on the inside, and on top of that was getting better shots landed on her than Katie Taylor was able to land on Amanda Serrano when it came to hard, thudding, damaging shots? There's no reason, none, that we should have seen Amanda Serrano lose this fight. This was an outright robbery. Oh, yes, it was. Oh, yes, it was. This was a robbery. This was an incredible robbery. An absolute, it was a horrible situation where a great fight, as I said in the live stream, a great fight got sullied, ruined by the preposterous viewing of judges, or the preposterous judging of judges. And this is a continuation of what we have consistently said every single time we watch the sport. Every time there's a situation where we have a great display, a phenomenal night, a phenomenal fight, somebody has to mess it up. Somebody said in the chat last weekend, we were watching the fight live. Always one person that messes up what should be the whole of a great night, the entirety of a phenomenal performance, a phenomenal display of just outright warrior spirit, which is what we saw with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. But in this situation, there's nothing that you can say that didn't show me that Katie Taylor shouldn't have lost. She should not be undisputed. It should be Amanda Serrano. And this fight should have been capped off with the proper win and proper victory. Yet now we see, again, a great fight, a great war on one of the biggest platforms imaginable, with many people seeing it for the first time. Now, they got sullied. And we're going to get into that more specifically after we talk about Tyson and Jake Paul, the ramifications of what this night truly did for the sport. But now we go on to the main event. Now we go on to the big, bad show that everybody was waiting on. The very thing that I hyped up, the very thing that I said was, shoot, was going to be a witness to the impossible. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. And if I'm being completely honest, it was bad. It was bad. Everything that I expected to happen, happened. Everything that I thought would happen, happened. And also didn't happen. The very thing, again, I picked Tyson to win the fight. Yes, I did. I had a whole diatribe as to why. Backed up my reasoning, saw with the things that we know Jake Paul ain't good at. Understanding what Mike Tyson was in 2020. And if that same Mike Tyson showed up, again, if that same Mike Tyson showed up in 2021 or 2025, we could have a conversation. But it's not what happened. We saw Mike legitimately, he looked old. He looked his age. He looked like a 54-year-old. Or 58-year-old. He looked like somebody pushing 60. He looked exactly like he looked exactly like I thought he would look. And I was hoping I would be wrong. My gosh, I was hoping I'd be wrong. I'm not going to lie. I bought into the nostalgia. I bought into the hype. I bought into legitimately understanding what we saw from the last time out. There's a possibility. If anybody can beat Father Time outside of people like Tom Brady and Mike Tyson, it could be, and LeBron James. It could be Mike Tyson. It could be the man who seemingly defied the odds. It could be the man who was indeed in the land of giants at the smallest heavyweight in his era, smallest of any era, just about, would still be able to shock the world like he constantly did. One more time against an opponent that, again, from a boxing perspective, is not great. But age defies all. Age defeats all. Age consistently is the main thing that will make anybody degrade. It will catch up to you at some point. And that's exactly what happened. We saw Mike Tyson for everything that we know he could do in the best of his heyday. Even later on, even in 2020, it eroded away. And the crazy thing was, the mentality was indeed still there. The mental aspect of understanding what to do, that was still there. The thinking mind of Mike Tyson was still there. And the upper body of Mike Tyson was still there. He was indeed in great shape. He was indeed prepared for the fight in terms of to the best of his physical capabilities. No, there was no denying that. He was in better shape than Jake Paul. But age, even with that shape being great, it just you can't beat everything. You just can't. No matter how good you look, you can't beat everything. And youth in this situation is something that's just too much to carry. It's just too much. It just is too much. And we saw Mike as much as he wanted to. He wanted to slip and counter. He wanted to go and dart in and use his explosiveness. He wanted to be able to change angles, but he couldn't. Everybody's saying this was rigged, this was fake, this was this, that, and the third. No, let's stop that right now. Let's stop that right now. This isn't fake. It was real. This was a legitimate fight. This was an actual attempt at Mike Tyson to come and win. He did come and try to win. The problem was, the brother at this age, once he got into the ring, it was completely different. It was completely different from what we saw from training. It's completely different because I've said this before, and if I haven't on this channel, I'll say it again. Pad work never tells the whole story. In ring, in sparring, and more so in a legitimate fight setting, that's what tells you what a boxer really is about. And as much of a savant as Tyson is intellectually, physically, the pad work that he was doing wasn't translatable to in-ring activity because of the legs of Mike Tyson. He was still slipping and moving. He was still dodging and making Jake Paul miss more than any of his other opponents outside of Tommy Fury and I think Anderson Silva. He was making the countering windows. He was making the ability to, hey, there is an opening. But the problem was he couldn't cut it off. People were saying, oh, he was holding himself back, biting his gloves and all. Well, he bit his gloves because that's what he always did. And he couldn't come forward to execute the hooks that you wanted him to throw. Not because he was holding back, not because of some contract situation. The brother was never off balance or was never on balance for the entirety of the fight. He wasn't. After that first flurry that he came out with when he threw a leaping left hook in the opening round and got thrown off balance by a right hand by Jake Paul that didn't really land clean. But nonetheless, after that, he couldn't do anything. Because as much as the upper body work is viable and can make Jake Paul miss, the second half of the equation for Mike Tyson is the legs provide explosiveness to cut off the ring and reach your opponent and close the distance. That's what Mike Perry was able to close the distance on Jake Paul. And it's not because Mike Perry is a better boxer than Mike Tyson. Never in his lifetime, in my lifetime, or anybody's lifetime combined. As a boxer, he's a bum as well. But in terms of athletically, he had the ability to use his legs to at least be able to bum rush and keep up with Jake Paul when Jake Paul got to the ropes and got to the corner. He could cut off the ring because he had the speed and the coordination to make the angle. Tyson didn't have it. That's why he stood flat-footed. That's why he was consistently not throwing. Because if he did throw, he couldn't throw the hooks. And if he did throw the hooks, he was always off balance. And so it was a situation where I got to be smart about this. I got to wait until he gets firmly in my range before I can actively throw. And then when he did throw, well, Jake Paul just clenched up. And Mike Tyson couldn't really push him off because why? He doesn't have the legs to keep the balance like he wants to. Coordination is key. And age is something that just beats us all. So he couldn't do what he wanted to do, though the mind of him was still there to understand how to operate. And we saw glimpses of, hey, he sees the opening. He's making Jake Paul miss on the inside. He's getting the ability to slip. And normally, if he had the leg speed and the coordination, he would be able to go dart in and out and then be able to tackle. But he couldn't because he was old. He is old. And you can't beat age. You just can't do it. You can't beat Father Time. And with Jake Paul, you were just able to box around the ring. You were just able to box around the ring. He took some tough shots. Let's give credit where credit is due. Tyson took some great shots. Tyson took the right hands of Jake Paul. Iron Mike has still got that chin. He still does. He showed it in the fight. We were worried about him getting knocked out. The brother 8 clean shots in the middle rounds and was still able to keep on going, especially when he actually got tired and legitimately he couldn't even move his upper body like he wanted to be able to evade and react to the shots that were coming at him. And so what you want to do? The brother's old. That's why he couldn't throw punches. There's no balance given for him to have some stability. He's going to fall forward and fall into a right hand that we know Jake Paul wants to throw. And there's nothing, he doesn't have the reaction time to be able to evade and just adapt like he used to. So he had to fight smart. It's plain and simple. He could not do what he wanted because the risk was too great. Because his legs were not moving. And if your legs can't move, brother, you can't do a doggone thing. That's the nature of the beast. That's it. So give credit to him. He lasted 8 rounds, but this was, hey, let's call it what it is. This was bad. This was incredibly bad. People are going to see this fight and be like, dang. We all wanted to see Mike Tyson one more time come out and shock the world. He just couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it because he at some point in time, you just can't expect the body to be able to do what you want it to do. And age catches up to us all. It's a crying shame. And hey, what the world? Daryl, what's up? Thanks for coming in and commenting on the show. Absolutely. Love you joining in. No doubt about it. And I'm not going to lie, that was about to be my next topic of the show. You did a perfect transition. Did a perfect transition to what we're getting ready to talk about. Now, hey, Jake Paul's a disgrace. Arthur and Francis offered the fade. Jake Paul ducked them both. I was getting ready to get to that right now. Let's talk about it. Jake Paul now, after this fight, got offered, not just from Arthur Beterbiev, not just from Francis Ngannou, but also from Daniel Dubois. He reached out to him, and he said, hey, they want this to happen. Y'all want this to go? If you want an opportunity at a title, Arthur Beterbiev said you can come through. Daniel Dubois said to come through. And both of them said it. Heavyweight, Tyson, Mike and Jake fought at heavyweight. Daniel Dubois said, hey, let's get it cracking. I fought on your undercard. Now I'm a champ. Let's see you come after me. And is this not what I said? Is this not what I said was going to happen? If he goes through with this and fights Mike Tyson, every boxer, legitimate boxer, is going to start coming after him now. Now they're going to be calling his bluff. Okay, you want to beat up on one of our legends, a person that we looked up to, understanding that you are disgracing the sport. Okay, you want to play that game? Come play that game with me. I told you, I said this was going to happen. The brother was going to be hunted by people to say, come get the fate. And now this is the beauty of this tragic event that was this fight. We're now looking at Jake, and there's nowhere else to go. He can't. What else can he do? He won't fight Canelo. We know that. And on top of that, Canelo won't give him the time of day. Great. We love it. But at the same time, everybody else understands that was watching the sport. This was a terrible event in terms of the main event. We now don't want to see this sideshow anymore. We're done. We bought to see Mike Tyson knock you out, and now we see what Mike Tyson truly is. And the facade of invincibility now is gone in terms of, oh, he can his time, he can still beat anybody up relatively because he's, again, Mike Tyson. Not saying that it's still the aura of dominance isn't still there. The respect is still there, absolutely. Again, he still gets all the respect. Mike Tyson didn't lose anything in this fight, which I was scared it was going to happen. He didn't. Jake Paul lost everything. He lost the respect. He lost the ability to be able to be looked at as a legitimate, even a legitimate sideshow. Butterbean has more respect than Jake Paul. Butterbean has more respect than Jake Paul. He does. And he was a sideshow in the same way. And yep, see, Ryan Garcia wants it as well. Everybody wants a crack at Mike, or at Jake Paul, excuse me. Give me a second, let me get a drink real quick. Ooh. Gotta make sure I keep my voice active. But everybody wants a shot at Jake Paul. Because now, hey, one, you beat up on a legend. Two, you have nowhere else to go because you can't fight anybody that is 50 or above anymore. Not even 40 or above. The only way you can sell money is if you, A, get one of the big contenders, or B, outright go through the ringer of an actual boxing tenure. Since you say you want to be seen as a legitimate boxer, and you go through and fight people in your same skill level or above. And I can guarantee you right now, Daryl and everybody else is watching. He's not going to fight him. He's not going to fight Archer Beterbiev, even though Beterbiev, ironically enough, fits the mold of what Jake Paul would want to be. He's not going to fight him. He's 40 plus. He's, quote unquote, past his prime. And he's beat Bevo. And if you want credit to beat an old man, hey, that would be the guy. You want to do Arislani Lara? You can fight him. But anybody of real contention, he will never face. The only people that he will actively face are people that are indeed bumps. And the public doesn't want to see that. So now he's forced into a rock and a hard place. What's he going to do? Will he go and fight a legitimate contender? Will he go through the ringer and fight an actual respectable opponent that has been training all his life, that has been legitimately good, and is also the same age as him? 25 to 28, even 30, 32. He won't do it. But he's going to have to, because if he doesn't, we're not going to care anymore. We're not going to watch this facade. And the bad part about this whole night, and this is the worst thing about it. The bad part about this whole night, we're looking at this and everybody got exposed to boxing. This is one of the biggest events of the year, period. Regardless of medium. Incredible amount of eyes were on this show. And we got to see the best of boxing and the worst of boxing all in one setting. And it's a crying shame. Because this was the medium to get everybody invested in actively getting back into the sport. And to helping make this sport one of the biggest sports in America like it used to be. That's what this could be. But for every great fight, we saw a bad decision. Again, Barrios and Ramos, draw, no problem. Everybody loved it. Everybody was excited. Everybody got to see two warriors go at it. The epitome of what boxing is essentially about. From Barrios and Ramos, they enjoyed it. And then boom. Draw, no problem. Sarrano and Katie Taylor, fight of the year argument. Incredible war. But while the war was great, and people got exposed to women's boxing and the best of boxing, period, when it came to that fight, it got sullied, and nobody's going to remember. the fight as much as they should. They're only going to remember the bad decision that was given when Katie Taylor should have lost to Amanda Serrano. Whole world blew up when that happened. Whole world blew up when they saw Katie Taylor winning. And they were like, see, this is why I don't watch boxing. What the world? How is it they're going to give it to that woman? When the other girl absolutely won. When Sarrano clearly won that fight. That was what the discourse was. And so a great fight got sullied by a bad decision. And that's what's lingered in the minds of people. That on top of now Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, you got to see on the card previously, great fights for the majority. Shushu Carrington, again, Mario Barrios, Ramos, Katie Taylor. Main card was just about good. You went 2 for 4, and the 2 fights that were great were phenomenal. But nobody's going to remember that. Because the sport, again, kicked itself in the butt. The bad taste that people aren't going to forget are Serrano got robbed. Not that the fight was great, but that Serrano got robbed. And Mike Tyson got beat by a brother that we didn't want to see get beat. And if anything, this was a farce. This was a facade. This was a sham. I was robbed. That's what a lot of people feel. I can't believe I thought that this would be anything more than what it actually is, which was a money grab and a sideshow just to get me to hate watch. That's what this whole thing was. That's what a lot of people see this. And that's what Jake Paul wants. He wants you to hate watch. He wants us to talk about it. He wants us to, all publicity is good publicity. Or, excuse me, yeah, I said that, right? All publicity is good publicity when it comes to Jake Paul. Bad publicity is the best publicity when it comes to Jake Paul, because then everybody wants to hate him and watch him. The Floyd Mayweather effect. We pay for him to lose. Not because he's exciting. No, again, Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest boxers we've ever seen. One of the best mental minds and defensive specialists that we've ever seen. Absolutely. There is no question in his career. But in terms of why inevitably Money Mayweather turned into such a big deal was because people wanted to see that brother lose. And he was cocky. And people didn't like cocky. But the brother was indeed actively great. Beat me if you can, but you know you can't. That was his whole spiel. And it worked. People wanted to see that brother get knocked out and beat. Completely destroyed. That's what people wanted for Floyd Mayweather. That's what people want for Jake Paul. But the problem is, we know Jake Paul, it can happen at a moment's notice. If he takes the fight that legitimately makes him look like a bump that he is. And he's looked like a bum even in his quality fights. It's just the competition that he faces is so far below and or so old that they can't do what needs to be done. And so his talent is indeed, if he fought Shushu Carrington, who is leagues lighter than him, Shushu would beat that brother's butt, could destroy him. Any active, legitimate, relatively quality boxer beats Jake Paul. That's why he doesn't fight him. That's why he won't fight Artur Beterbiev. That's why he won't fight Daniel Dubois. Even though, shoot, with what Dubois just did to AJ, I guarantee you that if y'all fought, dare I say, over in London, I bet you would sell out arenas, just like with this fight. Because now it's off the backs of, well, we want to see you get beat by any means necessary. Haters and lovers will come and watch you get destroyed by Daniel Dubois. Artur Beterbiev, everybody. But you won't take those challenges because you know this is the game. And we as the public need to know this is the game. Jake Paul winning, not against quality people, is what gets you mad. It's what gets me mad. It's what makes me irate at what this brother's doing to the sport. But it's for the sake of money. So don't let that fool you. Don't let yourself get too riled up over the fact that we despise this man and everything he represents, because we know this is a brother who only is about the money. He doesn't care about what life is out after the ring. He cares about setting himself up to be able to get the biggest payday. And inevitably, if we see Canelo call him out, he will take that fight. But outside that, he'll never fight a legitimate, quality, relatively good contender. He didn't even fight Hasim Rahman when he was supposed to fight Rahman. And Rahman, again, the son of Lennox Lewis, the son of Hasim Rahman Sr., who beat Lennox Lewis, had been training and constantly fighting. And he won't fight him. He won't. He won't fight anybody of that caliber or below. He won't fight anybody of Tommy Fury's caliber or below ever again. Up until it's somebody that is just too much money to refuse. That's what's going to happen. I promise you. And so because of that, we may see this fizzle out quicker than we thought. Because now, nobody likes him. And on top of that, nobody wants to see him anymore. The very thing that we thought would bolster up his cachet with the biggest platform that he's ever had on one of his fights has now potentially ruined his cachet as a boxer and limited him to only a small window of opportunity. Either you fight somebody as a real contender and work your way up to be able to face a quality champion, or you go and you fight one big name that you know you're going to lose to, but it's a notarized name that the globe will know about. And then boom, you get your one fight, you lose, like I know you want to do, or like I know you're going to do, and then it's all up in smoke now. Again, this is an evil butterbean. That's the best way I can put it. That's the best way I can call it. Because of that, we're going to hate watch. We are going to hate watch. And one more thing about this whole event. When it came to the sport of boxing and how in fact this sport is going through when it comes to what the landscape looks like, will this potentially pushed away what would have been one of the best engines to get everybody back invested? Because now they're going to see this as some people who only watch boxing when Tyson was around tuned in just because Tyson's back. They didn't care about the other fights. People only tuned in strictly for that fight alone potentially. And because of what they saw, they may not want to return. Because now they see that, yep, this is exactly why I left the sport. There is nothing good about this sport. There's nothing quality about this sport. Because nothing's sacred. Nothing is viable. Nothing is off limits for people to use and abuse. That's the issue. We could have had this as one of the biggest, essentially, pipelines to go through and find Katie Taylor, find Marga Vargas, find Gervonta Tank Davis. No, we know Tank is a big name. There's still people that don't watch boxing, let alone haven't seen anything about Tank in the first place. This is what this was. This was a real pipeline to be able to get through everybody else. And now it's not there. Now it's up in smoke, because what people remember is what they hate. What people remember is what they don't like. What people remember is what stuck out that left a bad taste in their mouth the most, as opposed to what leads to what's a great opportunity. So it's like it's a real detrimental thing that this sport just went through. I'm not saying it's going to end the sport forever, no. But what you also have to understand is people wanted more, and now they ain't got it. People wanted to feel like, yeah, this is what I love. Oh my gosh, what is this? All they feel is I feel cheated and lied to. That's what people are going to feel like. That's what people are going to say. That's what people are going to go and articulate their opinion on the rest of the sport. Now, trying to get them to watch Usyk versus Fury, trying to get them to watch Terrence Crawford versus potentially Canelo or whatever other opponent comes your way. David Benavidez versus David Morrell. All these other fights, in a way, all these other fighters that are so good, people are going to now never know or never want to know, never even attempt to find due to what this did. On top of with Netflix not being able to see the fight, with problems and issues going on with the stream itself, this was just a bad boxing lost. Like I said in the title, boxing lost. Boxing lost in this fight because everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And even when things went right, they went wrong. Great fights like Barrios and Ramos and Katie Taylor and Amanda Sarrano, bad quality in terms of visually, it was tough to see. And streams kept buffering and people couldn't see it at all. And then for the people that could see it, while the fight was good, the decision wasn't great. because the wrong man won and Katie Taylor and Sarrano. So either way, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for what this fight was supposed to be, for the debut and the new invigoration of boxing to fans. This was a crying shame. It's a crying shame. Especially for a network that's been able to do this and do this consistently for every other major live event that I've seen them have on their platform. It's bad. That's all we can say. It's objectively bad. Can it get better? Absolutely. Can they recover? Sure. Can they try this again? No doubt about it. They better. And they better do it right. And they better do it with a quality fight. I'm talking about a war and a card stacked from start to finish. I'm talking about a card that's on par with Riyadh season. It's going to have to be. And they got the money to do it. It's going to have to be that level of quality. Because there is a gold mine to be able to have this boxing regime on Netflix legitimate. It can replace Thursday night fights. It can replace what we see when it came to ABC or CBS, when it used to be on the one of the 4 standard cable channels back in the day. When you could watch Ali fight for the title. And then right afterwards watch Syracuse fight or Syracuse play against Notre Dame on ABC in college football. It could be like that. That level everybody can gather around and come and see in a bit consistently with the greatest of ease. Netflix, the avenue was there. But the one shot to get people invested in that, you ruined it. You absolutely ruined it. Absolutely ruined it. It just does my heart bad. That's all. It does my heart bad. It makes me really see this as, dang, man. Everything that I thought would go wrong went wrong. Not just my pick of the fight, but just as a whole. It just makes you wonder, man. It really makes you wonder. As much progress as this sport made in 2023, how in the world is it that I feel like we've gone backwards? We had banger after banger after banger last year. Not saying we still haven't had good fights this year, but now on the big scale, it just feels bad. And the sport as a whole feels cheated. Because how in the world did we let Mike get to a situation where he can go out and do this? Why weren't we saying this needs to stop? Where were the people in the sport saying, nah, we can't let this happen? That's the thing. I talked about it because it was too big not to talk about. I discussed it because this was content. We had to discuss it. But in the grand scheme of things in the back of our mind, I'm saying, why in the world was this not stopped? Why wasn't this put down? Why wasn't this made? Why was this sanctioned? Why was this deemed as a legitimate record-changing fight? As an actively just went on their records. Why was this allowed? Understanding the circumstances of this fight, why in the world was this allowed? Who let this happen? Yes, we didn't see Mike Tyson get knocked out. Sure, that's not a great consolation prize for a fight that shouldn't have happened in the first place. That's not, no. Where were the stopgaps? How did we let this happen to one of the greatest icons of today's generation? Again, the closest thing we got to an Ali level figure when it comes to an iconic figure in the media world, beyond just sports, beyond just boxing, as a whole. People see Tyson as an indomitable force, as an immovable object, as a cornerstone of not just the sports world, but just of media, of culture. This was a brother who was part of the 3 Mikes: Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, and Michael Jackson. This was a man who was indeed one of the biggest names in the world. This was a man who set a cultural shift for many boxers, even to this day. Like, a credit to his people, the culture, and just the world as a whole, of a redemption story of somebody who, if you commit yourself, you can accomplish all, and even when you get down, you can get back up and be something, essentially be reborn. Be rejuvenated. Change yourself for the better. You can do that when all hope seems lost. That's what Mike Tyson represented. A beast in and outside of the ring who won the biggest fight, which was the fight with himself in the mental mind. That's what he did. And we love him for it. Villain turned hero. Monster turned, not martyr's the wrong word because the brother ain't died. Martyr turned into an icon. He's a monster that turned into a hero. That's what Tyson is. And we let this go. We let it go with Evander Holyfield also. This is a problem. This is just wholeheartedly, this is a problem. It's a bona fide problem. Boxing's got to fix this because we can't let this happen. To continually allow for these types of spectacles at the expense of the people that built this sport up, that's a problem. It is a major problem. Shouldn't even be that Tyson needs to take this fight, though he is rich. Don't get me wrong. He wanted to do this because he wanted to do it. No doubt about it. But even still, it shouldn't be that other people have to do this just because, oh, we need money. Or, oh, this is too good to pass up. This is why, like I talked about last time on the stream, the Global Boxing Commission, Teddy Atlas is trying to start it. I believe you can go sign a petition with them. That is what will help get this sport where it needs to be. On the whole, with everybody. So we don't have situations like this again. It just hurts my heart because Tyson is an icon. And with Tyson being such a great asset, not to the globe, period, for what he represents, it's tough for me to see that man go down, not even go down, just to go out and try to do something that we just see it's not there. We just see it's not there. It's a crying shame. It's all we can say. It's a crying shame. And no, it's not a scam. It's not a conspiracy. This isn't something where he threw the fight. It's just straight up, Mike is old. Mike lost. Mike can't fight anymore because his lower body won't let him do what the mind wants him to do. If this was Tyson in 2020 against Roy Jones Jr., go watch that fight. That's a completely different Mike than what we saw tonight. The limberness, the fluidity, the ability to still bounce and duck. And ironically enough, he was doing more of the old Mike Tyson stuff that we saw early in his prime in this fight than he did in the fight against Roy Jones Jr. In terms of being able to slip, duck, and opening up and having the ability to do the proper stuff, that Tyson was doing that in this fight. He was. But again, the lower body wasn't able to move like it wanted to move. Tyson in 2020, that Tyson still had a limber ability. He was at that point in time still able to do some serious damage. That Mike Tyson was able to actively, he was beating back time to some degree. And we saw the footwork, the ability to cut out the ring, the ability to use angles, the ability to go and attack and lunge with hooks and land. Catching up to the speed and footwork of Roy Jones Jr., which is still better than Jake Paul, even at the age that he was. He just, at this point in time, he just couldn't do it. That's all. It's a crying shame. Crying shame. But again, we still, outside of that, sport can still grow. This sport can still get better. And the sport still, this ain't the end all be all. As bad as this looks in terms of the grand scheme of boxing, there's still stuff on the horizon. But this is going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths when it comes to what this fight is. It just is. It's just the truth. Normally I'm hyped up and energetic. Now this is the reality. I'm mad. I'm mad that this happened. You should be mad that this happened. We all should be upset that this happened. And let's forget it and move on. That's the biggest thing that I can say. We're going to have to just forget it and move on. But again, if there's anything else in boxing that y'all want to discuss, we can do that. But as of right now, we're going to move on real quick as we come to the tail end of this show. Good gosh, we've been 50 minutes in already. My bad. Shoot, we got to cover stuff in the NBA because we still got stuff going on outside of just the boxing landscape, like with basketball. And currently, surprisingly, the Cleveland Cavaliers are actively undefeated still in a shocking turn of events that everybody is just, how? How in the world is this possible? How is it that Cleveland, a team that, while they are great, don't get me wrong, and statistically, they're having one of the best runs that we've seen of any squad at this point in the season, from a defensive and offensive perspective, points averaged and points allowed, just efficiency and effectiveness from every facet of the floor. How in the world is it that they're so good? Nobody understands. But what you do need to understand is that the biggest reason is because we've seen this formula before. This Cleveland Cavaliers squad, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley, all of whom right now are top 10 in MVP rankings as of today, which is insane. This is akin to what we saw in 2015, was it 2014, 2015, with the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, you remember them? The 2015 Atlanta Hawks? When they had Al Horford, Kyle Korver, Paul Millsap, and Jeff Teague all make, Jeff Teague's got a phenomenal podcast. Hopefully I'll get him on the show. Actually, we can have a great time talking. But when we saw all of them make an all-star game, and we were like, how in the world is this team so good? How were they so effective? How did they win 65 games on the year? When nobody else on that squad was looked like a legitimate top 10 level talent. But cohesively, they all just gelled together. And the team just had it. They just had it. That's what this team has right now. The two defensive towers down low with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley also being a better scorer than anybody may have realized, averaging 18 points a game while still being a great shot blocker and rebounder. Jared Allen, a brother who, again, is indeed one of the better rim protectors and rebounders in the league right now, as well as a lob threat. And then led by Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, some of the best backcourt duos, one of the best backcourt duos in the NBA right now. Both of them are averaging, 24 and 21 respectively? Shooting above, if I got my stats right, Donovan Mitchell shooting above 42% from three. Darius Garland shooting 45% from three. Both of them are shooting on the whole. Both of them are shooting about what? Is it 50%? 50% or above? Yeah. Garland shooting 52%. Donovan Mitchell shooting 46%. Offensively, they are clicking on every single facet. And chemistry-wise, they are on the whole so well gelled together. Defensively and offensively, not missing assignments, switching and getting over when you got shooters that you're trying to get over on a pick and roll. Understanding how to make sure they don't miss their assignment, not making lapses in the defensive adjustments, and also not leaving their man outright and getting lazy. They got heart, they got hustle, they got chemistry, and they got drive. And they have everybody in their set role that doesn't operate outside of it, but flourishes by helping each other excel in what they do. It's a perfect give and take. That's why they're undefeated, surprisingly. Now, will this lead to better success and more success down the road? Who knows? Again, the best start to a season was 24-0 by the Golden State Warriors. That 2017 squad with KD, Steph, Dre, and Klay Thompson, and Iguodala, and Sean Lewis. That squad, the greatest team ever assembled. Full stop. That's the best start that we've ever seen on the year. I don't know if we'll see Cleveland get to that point. Now, they got a possibility, but I don't think we'll see him get there. But the point still stands as of right now, especially in a weak Eastern Conference, when everybody thought it was going to be the Sixers and the Celtics and the Bucks being the teams to lead the fray, teams to be the best man on deck. Now, Cleveland, with one bona fide superstar and a cavalcade of great role players and great starters. Hey, you don't need a big star to be effective. You don't need multiple big threes to be dominant. They're showing you that right now. They've ran through everybody, East and West. And so this keeps up. Hey, we could see some real trouble. But also, we could also see them get swept in the first round. Like we saw Atlanta get swept by in Cleveland and LeBron in 2015. When LeBron just took over and just made them out to be a facade. That's what we could see. No doubt in my mind. None whatsoever. It's entirely possible. Mark my words, it's entirely possible. But then on the flip side, speaking of MVP, what's going on with the MVP race right now? As a whole, we mentioned that 4 starters on Cleveland R&D top 10. But who's top 5? And who deserves to be number 1 at this stage in the season? Well, number 5, in my opinion, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Though, again, the Bucks suck. Absolutely. Though the Bucks are horrible. Though the Bucks are terrible. Though the Bucks are indeed an absolute laughingstock in the NBA as of right now. Individually, there's still an argument that he is still producing at a leagues high MVP level. Has had multiple 30, 40 plus games, 40-point games. Has taken over games by himself, even in losses. Has still been one of the most unstoppable players in the league as of right now. You can put him at 5. If you don't, put Donovan Mitchell at 5. No problem. Either one of them. Giannis or Donovan. Because of the record and also his own production. And Giannis strictly off his production alone. Even with this team being bad. Top 5. No problem there. Number 4. Might have to say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Because this brother continually, night after night, year after year, continues to show he is one of the best guards in the world today. There's an argument he might be the best guard outright. Him, Steph, Luka. You want to talk about point guards? It might be him and nobody else. It could very well be with how quality he has been playing. Again, the brother's averaging, 28 points on this season, 28, 6, and 5. Shoot 50% from the field. And this is with him shooting 30% from 3, not even a great 3-point shooter. Him and what the OKC Thunder have done, having an 11-3 record, making Sam Presti's vision come out to be a reality. All of a sudden, picks galore and quality talent that everybody's able to actively be dominant. And it just works. On top of the addition of Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't even think he's healthy at this point. Or maybe he just got healthy. But it's been Chet Holmgren and Shai have just been killing the league. Deservedly so, he should be top 4. But in my 3rd, I got Anthony Davis. Because the dominant display of offense and defensive prowess we've seen him on this season has not been seen relatively close to since we saw him in New Orleans. And in New Orleans, when he was playing like this, we were saying that he's arguably the best player in the world. He was in that conversation for top 3 in the world at that time in New Orleans. It was an insane level of production and outright domination on defensive end and offensive end. Again, this is a brother right now who can be seen as legitimate defensive player of the year contender. Him and Wemby. With Wemby also being absolutely phenomenal as a player. But again, we ain't talking about sophomore seasons and how he's been evolving and changing. AD's been averaging 2 blocks a game while being one of the better defensive anchors in the entire league, forcing and changing shots, being able to be a difference maker every time you see him on the floor. Also, ironically enough, is the best scorer in the NBA right now, averaging 31 points a game, shooting 56% from the field, and 42% from 3. We didn't see him shoot like this since the bubble in 2020 when he got to the Lakers and they won the championship. Being able to spray from the outside. It's been incredible. And he's been healthy. And he's been available. And he's consistently played through injury when he's actively tried. Outside of the eye injury where he had to go, get treated and all that stuff, he's been playing through just about everything he can. So we can't use the injury bug. We can't use he's soft. We can't use he's weak. We can't use any of that. The man is indeed playing up to the caliber that we saw him as a dominant star in the NBA. There is no question in my mind. That brother deserves to be top 3. Arguably, you could put him at 2. The only reason why I ain't put him at 2 is because of Jason Tatum and the season that the Celtics have had on top of his individual production, which is what I've been saying about him. If he keeps this up, this brother is indeed bona fide, a top 5 level player. And he's playing like it right now. 29 points per game, just about 30 points per game if you want to round up 29.7. Averaging only 2.9 assists while also averaging 5 assists a game. Rounding up, he's averaging 3 assists and only 2 turnovers as one of the better playmakers on his team as a whole, while also getting 8 rebounds, again rounding up. Shooting incredible, 46%, not just from the field, but also from 3, shooting nearly 40%, 38% on every single night. Has been on a tear with his offensive display and playing like a 6'10" anomaly of an offensive star that we knew he could be. We've said that he was trying to set an example, set an image, set a standard, and shut up all the noise from what was talked about him last season, from the finals all the way up to the Olympics, when he again sucked, when he did get playing time on Team USA. Now he's completely changed for the better, has turned this team into a dominant squad. And that's because they are indeed dominant, but because of the fact that legitimately they are, with this squad and with this Jason Tatum leading the squad, they look more dominant than ever. They truly do. And even though we see that the Cleveland Cavaliers are indeed the best team right now, from a record perspective, when it gets time for the playoffs, anybody that faces up against the Boston Celtics, they gonna have themselves a time. Because I don't think this Jason Tatum, if we see this Jason Tatum get to the playoffs, because we don't know what the future may hold, we see this Tatum get to the playoffs, we're gonna see this brother legitimately, actively, never falter again. We may not have to have that conversation of Jaylen Brown outplaying Jason Tatum anymore. We won't have to have that anymore if we see this keep up. This is an objective just domination from what we expected to see from somebody who kept being talked about as a top 5, top 3 level player, but never played up to the standard consistently. Now, he's playing up to the standard. He's playing up consistently. And that brother's continually showing that he is for real. And this is a Jason Tatum that we all were afraid would actively come out and become a reality. He's turned into it. And by gosh, anybody that steps in his way, as the season keeps on rolling on, barring injury, they're going to have a tough time trying to get their footing. Because this Jason Tatum is coming for blood. This is coming for blood. No doubt in my mind. But even with all that being said, he is not number 1 in this MVP race. Number 1 and still being the best player in the world is Nikola Jokic. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. This man, the record, 7-5. Nuggets ain't great. No problem. Absolutely. But in his individual production, this man is averaging he's averaging 29, rounding up, 30 points a game, 11 assists, just about 12 if we're rounding up, 14 rebounds, a steal and a half, and a block a game, while shooting 56% from the field and 56% from 3. The most efficient, effective, dominant offensive player that this game has to offer right now. And he's rarely missing a game. And he's healthy. He's dominating so much. It is laughable. And he ain't getting himself on the free throw line either. It's just down. It's just hard lunch pail work. There's no question. This is indeed the best player in the world. This should be MVP caliber level play. This is the leading MVP candidate as of right now, though the record of the team isn't nearly as great as the other contenders. This is where I've always said I value individual production over anybody or over anything else when it comes to what makes an MVP. It ain't just about, what's your impact on the game? Because the impact can be everybody's got a different opinion. Everybody's got a different opinion. Who's the most valuable? Who means more to their squad? and all that. So who's the biggest difference maker? All that can be debated a multitude of different ways. One thing that can't be denied is if you are consistently dominating everyone in front of you at the same rate, even if your team isn't quality, and you still are, but we can never look at you as being the reason why, and we're still marveling at, my gosh, this brother's just unstoppable in every facet. There's nothing we can say except for that is the MVP. And in this situation, the record may not be the strongest case, but the individual production clips anybody that tries to even come close to this brother. What in the world are we witnessing? What are we witnessing from Jokic? We're seeing somebody who's averaging 30, 12, and 14 while shooting 56% from both the field and from three, the best rim finisher in the league in terms of down low on the block, the best passer and playmaker. And on top of that, he's gotten better defensively. As we were saying, he didn't have great defense. The brother's averaging, again, a block and nearly 2 steals a game. How in the world is this not? How is this not the best player in the world? How is this not the best player that we've seen? How? It makes no sense. And that brings a bigger question into the makeup of Nikola Jokic. Where is this brother going to be once it's all said and done? We have to start having some real conversations about who Jokic is and what the world he's going to be in the grand scheme of basketball legacy. Because we're looking at this man right now, offensively. He is the greatest offensive center I have ever seen in my life. He's in terms of, from a skill set perspective. You got Wilt when it came to production, outright sheer dominance. No doubt in my mind. But in terms of, when I say offensive center, from both scoring and passing, playmaking perspective, everything that comes into your game, it is tough for me to say, even with the great Will Chamberlain, that Jokic is not the greatest offensive center that we've ever seen. I don't know what else you can say about him. Because he's not he can shoot the three with the best of anybody in the league. Better than anybody at this point. But while still being the best low post player that this game has to offer. While also being the best passer that this game has to offer right now. There's nothing that this brother cannot do. He can bully you on the inside. He can out-finesse you on the inside. He can pull up from mid-range from any spot on the floor. He's got an array of moves that he's never in a situation where he is compromised. He can make tough shots. He's got a bag. If you want to go the bag route, the brother's got a footwork bag and a low post bag that is unrivaled by anybody in the NBA. There is nobody better. There isn't. There just isn't. Passing and facilitating, he's better than anybody else in the league as a center. It ain't just because of his personnel, it's because of what he does. There is no question. He is indeed that dog. He is indeed a menace to society when it comes to the offensive side of the floor. And defensively, he is now coming into his own as a legitimate, viable defensive player. What in the world are we witnessing from this anomaly? That's what he is. He's an anomaly. Nobody can stop him, but it looks like everybody should be able to stop him. There's not a man alive right now that is better at basketball than Nikola Jokic. There's no question. None. We're looking at this man. He might be the best offensive center that we've ever seen because he's literally the complete package at the highest level that each skill set needs to have. He can average 30. He can shoot for 50% from anywhere on the floor. He's the most efficient player in the league. He's the most effective player in the league. He is the best playmaker in the league. He is right now on par with the best scorer in the league. And if you could argue, if he just took all the shots, he would still be the most efficient scorer while also leading the league in points. He could do it. If he lowered his assists from 10 to 9, or excuse me, from 12 to 9, or even from 12 to 10, and took more shots, the brother could legitimately be the best passer and best scorer in the NBA right now. Bar none. You couldn't tell. You can't. He's so efficient and effective. It's so undeniable how much this brother just does not mess up in any facet. If he played more aggressively, even though he's playing aggressively right now, and just took more shots, the brother could easily still average 10 to 12 assists while still putting up potentially 35 points a game. I'm talking about this is a man who could put up James Harden level offensive numbers. Yes, he could. Strictly down low. He is that great in terms of right now. Though we know what James Harden is as a scorer, he was phenomenal. He was never this effective. He was never this efficient. He was never this dominant in so many different facets outside of running to the rim and step back threes. There's a difference that we're witnessing when it comes to Jokic. There's a difference in the level of production and awe-inspiring efficiency and dominance that we're witnessing from this man, that we have not seen again since Wilt Chamberlain. We haven't. We just haven't. Even Shaq wasn't doing stuff like this. He wasn't. And Shaq was the most dominant player that we had seen since Wilt Chamberlain. But on every facet, from rebounding to passing and shooting, the brother is the tops at everything. And is a game-changing just entity. He is an entity. And it's stupid that the brother keeps on producing like this. It's preposterous. And I guarantee you, not just are we going to say this is potentially the greatest offensive talent we've seen at the center position. Even better than Hakeem Olajuwon. Even better than Wilt. Even better than Shaq, potentially. Better than Bob McAdoo. We can go down. Better than Artis Gilmore. Reaching the heights that we thought was never possible. From a center to be this well-rounded and elite in so many different facets of the game. He keeps this up. He wins another MVP. And dare I say wins another championship. Even without the championship, he just wins another MVP. We're going to have to start having conversations about the best centers in NBA history. And it might be that he doesn't just crack the top 10, but it cracks the top 5. We got some people moving out. We legitimately might be saying it. We got some people moving out if we see this brother continue to have this level of production and dominance. It's going to be incredible to see. It's stupid. It's stupid what we're witnessing. It is preposterous what we're witnessing from a guy that doesn't even enjoy this as a game, but views this as a job. And he's producing at this rate. We might never see this again. So enjoy it while you can. My gosh. Talk about incredible. It's going to be fun to watch for the rest of the season and as his career unfolds. And if he wins another MVP, watch how we're going to talk about him. You're going to be the first to hear. I'm going to be the first to say, yeah, this brother is indeed. He might be top 10 all time when it comes to the center position. And even when it comes to players as a whole, all-time players, he's starting to creep up that list. He's starting to move up that list as well. Don't be surprised when he starts getting put in GOAT conversations, or at least all-time conversations, period, regardless of position. He's a special brother through and through. But with that being said, we go about to end the show. If anybody else has got anything to say it right now. We can continue. But if not, this has been another episode of The Watch Report with me, Jean-Luc West. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Again, please leave your comments in the description or leave your thoughts in the comment section and go rewatch the show. Go to have debates and all this. So go rewatch the stuff that we had on the channel as well. And we got so much more to come as the week goes on. Again, we'll be back right here on Thursday as well to talk about and discuss other things in the sports world, other fights, other games, you name it, we'll talk about it. And you ain't gonna want to miss what we got going on as the weeks continue to unfold. We still got some major surprises potentially coming up as we continue to work to make the show better and better for you, the viewing and listening public. But again, I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here.